Hey, this is Gavin Palmer with Hero Looking for Group. So, I've got video, I've got something in the background, and I've got my notes. I'll start at the bottom because it's the most recent. Jacob said you should watch this Heather Heying and Jordan Peterson video. That's what I was just listening to. I am an hour and 20 minutes in. I have a lot of thoughts. The first thought, the most important thought about listening to people like this is they are experts at something. But the things they're talking about, they are not experts at. So that's what's happening on the internet. Is you're having people who are experts in one area talk about things that they're not an expert at, and they're making mistakes. The things they're saying are wrong. You may think they're right, but you are mistaken. So, and then you have to ask yourself, if we try to nail down exactly why they're wrong and what they're wrong about, does it matter? And so, if you can convince me that we should be talking about what they're talking about, and that we should be identifying why they're wrong and what is a better analysis of the situation, then we can do that. But as far as I can tell, it's a waste of time and energy, and that's based off of the experiments I've run where I've tried to do that in the past. So I think it's a waste of time and attention, but I'm willing to change my mind. You're willing, and if you want to convince me, go look at my website. Go to herolfg.com/posts/content-creation. Or just go to post and look for content creation. And that's the way I would recommend that you create content. Write it all out. Write down the content. Think about it. Spend a few days. Use version control. Share a link with me. And then we can have a discussion. I might write a blog post in response. And then those blog posts, they should be updating over time as you learn and get better, because you're not perfect, your content isn't perfect, and as you get better and make improvements, you can even have historical tracking of the information changing. And so all those people who are doing the news, they don't know what they're talking about either. They're not experts at the subject matter that they're talking about, and they're not even experts at sharing information for the purpose of education. If they were, they would be recommending what I'm recommending. The reason I'm an expert at this is because I'm a software engineer, and all software engineers who are experts and professionals are using version control. This is a basic truth. So if you're dealing with written information that is important, that is improving over time or changing, you should use version control. It's very important. All right. I updated the convective heat engine website with reference links. This is convectiveheatengine.github.io. It's a work in progress. And if I move to the next bullet point under what I've been focusing on this week, I'm looking into using Blender and 3D models. Because I want to create a visualization. Because if you go to that website, it's a lot of text, and sometimes visuals can help people. And I like learning new things, so this could be an interesting tool to add to my toolbox. There was a person named Loremaster who was on Jacob's Discord server, but they had a disagreement, and Jacob ended up kicking Loremaster off his Discord server. The caveat is that Jacob said you could come back once you change your behavior. I just want to point out that people should be able to have disagreements and continue to work together. And I think it's unfortunate that this kicking of Loremaster happened but I'm not blaming Jacob. I blame Jacob and Loremaster. I think both of them made mistakes. And this would be a more important topic than talking about what Heather Heying and Jordan Peterson have to say, because I'm actually connected with Jacob and potentially with Loremaster, who claimed to be probably the best JavaScript developer in the UK, something like that. But anyways, Loremaster recommended, he had provided some input, some rules about being a software engineer, so I decided to go look more into JavaScript and Python. So I learned about the event loop in JavaScript. So I learned about the task queue, the micro task queue, and the animation. There's like an animation frame. And so that was revealing. So what happens is, the way I do things is I use magic. I tinker and I do tests, I experiment and get results. And this works. So in history, there's a guy named Semmelweis who he used magic to figure out that if you washed your hands, that there would be less infant mortality. And they put him in a insane asylum. But he was using magic. And I'm okay with magic. It can be useful. Run the experiments, collect the information, and look for patterns. And that can be very useful. But, JavaScript and Python are written. The documentation is there and they can be understood. So you don't have to rely on magic. And when you work with teams, you shouldn't use magic. I'm trying to work with teams. Semmelweis, he demonstrated that using magic with teams is it's not great. It's not the best strategy. Also, looking into integrating with Gmail using Gmail API. So I was able to pull in like my labels using the Gmail API. I didn't go any further. I remember, I wanted to see, is there something that already existed? So I looked for like open source help desk software. I really like the phrase help desk software because that's what one of the problems that I've heard Jacob talk about is that it's very hard to organize volunteers. So if there is existing help desk software, perhaps it could be used or built upon by communities of volunteers who want to help. As a side note, I've thought of the website. Basically, it's a portal that has two doors. One door says, I need help. The other door says, I want to help. And then from there, ideally, we could organize all of the entire species. So you don't need to always create new technology. And, for example, Freshdesk did not use a Gmail integration. They used forwarding. But I'm going to look more into this. There might be limitations, but maybe we can learn from their UX, things like that. So I looked at doing the authentication and authorization with TypeScript. My wife asked why. And that's good. Sometimes I hop into things without thinking about why. Asking why might get you to rethink your initial approach. So you don't want to waste too much effort in your research. And that's what I was doing, is research. But also I am building up my toolbox. And TypeScript is something I haven't really used, so I was curious about TypeScript. Also, anything you build needs authentication and authorization, called auth. In order to have auth, so some people say, you have to be able to identify individuals. And if you can't identify individuals, you won't get results because you can't have accountability, because you can't develop clear expectations of other teams. You cannot demonstrate how to do conflict properly, cannot allow people to earn trust. And so there you go. We have to identify individuals. For example, Loremaster. I have no clue who you are. You made a mistake using this name. I did a big workout last weekend, and I pushed my immune system, and I got sick. I still have a sick sound. All challenges are opportunities. What did I learn? Sickness is an opportunity to be grateful for health. I was telling my children this when they were sick. Sickness is an opportunity to have empathy for other sick people. So I perform better when I'm healthy. When I'm sick, sometimes I might not even want to talk. I'll become short. I'll try to use the fewest words possible. And that can be perceived as being rude. It can be perceived all kinds of ways. Maybe some people perceive it as being wise. rather keep my mouth shut and have people wonder about how smart I am than to open my mouth and remove all doubt. So that's not my quote. Sick, but yeah, there are sick people in the world, and a lot of sickness is just I mean, I could talk about the sicknesses I've had experience with, and it doesn't seem like they're all just my fault. People get sick. People can be born with sickness. So it's good to have empathy. And then it is nice to have help when we are sick. And this was thinking about Jacob. So I've I've thought about a fraternity. I can't be a part of a fraternity. I have my family, but it seems like males could have a fraternity so that they could have they could look out for each other. And then when you have a fraternity, you have more freedom, because right now I heard Jacob say he gets sick, and it's nice having family to help him, but if there was some type of fraternity, maybe there could be help. And my first thought here is old people. A lot of old people have a lot of money, and they need help, and I think their money is being wasted. I think this is a huge industry, and if good people are trying to help old people, that is a foot in the door into developing a community, an organization that is able to be of service to others, especially people who are all by themselves. Old people, they may have had a spouse and then they lost a spouse. That's the first kind of step, but it doesn't have to just be old people, because people need help, especially when they're infants, all the way up, and especially when they're old. But even in between, you can get sick. You can have moments. You can have periods of time where you need help. You can't depend on the government to do this. You people, the government, I'm talking about taxpayer dollars going towards something that you disagree with. That's what I call the government, so don't get confused about that word government. Ideally, there would be an organization, a cooperative, that where people could put money toward things that they agree with. And that's really the thing to figure out, is how do we get people giving money such that that money goes toward things that the people agree with. I tried to solve this problem in the past, but I'll leave you with that. I appreciate your time. I hope to be back next Saturday, but you never know. Death is always near. We are not immortals. It's good to remember that. Makes you appreciate life. All right. Hey, see you later.